Chris Estes is the state's Chief Information Officer, and sir, you had an audit dropped in your lap, and so is that audit reflective of a mess you got to clean up, or do you just sort of make note and build anew?
To be honest with you, I'm still trying to figure that out, but quite frankly, you know, as the governor said, we're glad that we got the audit. We need more of those audits. My approach right now is try to figure out exactly what they were pointing to. It appears from my read of the audit is that we didn't do a good baseline of what the costs were, so that as savings were generated, we weren't able to calculate that fairly. So what I'm trying to do right now is get the savings determined and how we baseline that. So that's the mission for the team right now, is to help me understand what's behind that audit. And then I want to meet with Ms. Wood. I'm working to schedule a meeting to understand her concerns so we can address them.
Is this a job you think will take you months to accomplish, or is it a weeks kind of job that you dive into these numbers and get to the governor and get to the legislative leaders? This is our new baseline and this is what happened.
Well, I'll tell you, one of my observations with the numbers is that there's a lot of numbers running around in different books. And so Art Pope and I have already had a discussion about creating one set of numbers so that we have one set of books to work from. I've seen different groups have different numbers, and they spend a lot of time arguing about how they calculated their numbers, and that's creating a lot of extra noise. So I think the way we can be more efficient is working with the budget office to have one set of books that they think represent our business properly, and then we can argue about policy decisions on how we want to spend that money in the best way for the taxpayer. So right now we're arguing about numbers. We got to get them all consolidated into one set of books.
One set of numbers. I read the response to the auditor from former officials in your office, and they said, well, you can't really account for cost and benefit analysis in IT infrastructure because there are other metrics out there, other considerations to make. Do you buy that, or can you break down computer service for customers and for state employees to a nickel and dime time save kind of measurement standard?
Well, again, I'm new to state government. My background is commercial business, and typically commercial business executives require that level of detail to make a business decision. So I'm kind of used to providing that level of detail and asking those same kind of questions that I think our taxpayers are expecting us to answer. So I think the short answer is yes, we're going to have to get to it. Why we haven't been able to in the past, I can't speak to yet because I'm new. But I'm committed to trying to figure out the math and working with the budget office to do that.
Does it matter what happened in the past?
You know, my experience is there's a lot of good people trying to do the right thing. We hit during a really tough economic crisis, and a lot of decisions were made that people thought were the right ones. And so I'm not going to second guess those decisions. I know that from this day forward, my orders from my new boss is to collaborate and work with the new teammates that I now have, which I respect highly. So, and they're committed to that. So I think it's better to spend a little less time focusing on why people did what they did in the past and focus on what we can do in the future. So that's kind of my commitment to everyone, to focus going forward.
Two prime kitchen table issues, Chris,
Sure.
about this were Medicaid and food stamps. The governor said he's worried that these new computer systems the state has apparently bought to put online will not work when they're turned on, because when they're turned on, the old computer systems get turned off.
Right.
Is it that cut and dry?
Depending on which one you're talking about, there's about a half dozen of these large initiatives that are going on in the state that, you know, some of them are funded at the federal level to build these infrastructures, and the rules that come, say, in Health and Human Services, we have to kind of work inside that federal constraint, and then they fund what we do. And so the teams have been working pretty hard to do that. There's been some slippage in some of those project plans, and the functionality changes that have been made to try to keep two systems in sync. Because what happens when you're doing large systems technology deployment, you've got an old system that has old rules and a new system that has new rules. And you got, a lot of times it's the business rules that we have to get in sync, not the pieces of technology.
So the computers are like trains changing tracks, only you have to hop off one track onto the other one right away. It has to work, or it doesn't.
That's what I'm being told. In a lot of commercial, we usually do kind of a gradual migration to make sure everything's working, and I've been told that that's kind of we've been do more of a turn the switch off, turn it on approach. So I'm trying to assess the risk of that, and if that's the right and best thing for us. So we've got some folks looking at that, and we'll figure that out over the coming months.
Now, is doing a gradual rollout something you can do as a state official, or state and federal laws making you do this unlike you would experience in the private commercial world?
There's definitely some constraints. I guess I'm not prepared to give you
Yeah,
detail
sure.
what those are, but there are clearly constraints that that we have to deal with that are the right ones because they're passed by our legislative group to protect the citizens. So we're going to work within those constraints. But are they hindering us from doing a gradual rollout? I don't know yet. We've got a team looking at it. We're going to try to get to the bottom of it and do the right thing for the citizens. And we're mainly focused on the customer experience, making sure that it's positive when this new systems do get rolled out.
And citizens shouldn't worry about this. You're on the case. You're trying to work this out. Don't expect something overnight to go wrong. It's just you've got a challenge you got to meet. Is that how I interpret what you're facing?
Right. We're working on it. We're going to try to make sure the citizen experience or the customer experience is high, just like any other business rolling out a new piece of technology.
Chris Estes, Chief Information Officer of the state of North Carolina. Thanks for being on for this interview.
Thank you. I appreciate your time. For the record, so just kind of it's in me.
Yeah.
I was born with it, I guess.
I think I never talk on camera. I look like...
You're the communications guy, then.
Oh, I never talk on camera.
Oh, man, you're going to get blown up this year if you don't.